And I'm going to be calling a listener here pretty soon. Okay. Looks like we got the thumbs up. You can hear the synth, so you can hear my voice. So in theory, you're going to be able to hear my buddy Cole Bratcher. He's one of he's an OG Pod Mod Bod. He's been around since the beginning. And yeah, I'm going to let's see. I got a ground loop. That's probably just that synthesizer tone. Everything you see here is being powered off of the same circuit, so it wouldn't be a ground loop. All right, I'm going to call my buddy Cole. Let's see what happens here. Can you hear the Skype noise? Cole isn't online. He just... Hold on a second. Let me know if you heard that Skype call, though. All right. Let's try again.
Hello.
Cole?
Hey, Tim. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing, man?
I am well. I am, just hanging out after work and with some cats.
So you were able to get to work?
Oh, well, I work from home, so...
That works out really well for people in Seattle who work from home, right now, anyways.
Yeah, I manage the building that I live in, so I
cool.
don't really go anywhere. Yeah, so I had to do a little salting of the driveway today, and but other than that, it was business as usual.
Right on. Hey, let me just ask the streamers really quick. Can you hear Cole? I'm sure they can, but I just want to be sure before we get going.
Hello, streamers.
And there's a delay, so it'll be a minute. It'll be a second for us to get an answer. Okay, cool. Skype is on. Yeah. So my wife. The funny thing is my wife works for DOT, Seattle DOT. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Unlike most people who work in Seattle, she actually has to work more when it snows. She's been doing 12-hour days for 3 days straight. So, yeah.
Bummer.
So, I gave a little introduction to you. Told everybody that I've known you for a bit, fellow Seattle guy. But what's up? What's your purpose for calling in? I know you got some exciting news to announce. I think, right? Is that one of the reasons you're calling in?
Well, I mean, I'm happy to announce that while I'm here.
Yeah. Why not?
So I got not one but two releases coming up, which we're pretty stoked about.
Okay.
First is
Untilled Sound one. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh no. One. Well, actually, it's two different projects with two different names that aren't Untilled Sound.
Okay.
It's not confused at all. But one is Auric Lear, or Andy, as we know him.
Hi, Andy, if you're out there.
We did a little session for Labor Day forever ago. We finally got around to mastering it, making artwork, and we're releasing it this Friday. It's a little kind of like ambient sound jam session, and I tend to do pretty rhythmic stuff, and he tends to do really good atmospheric stuff. So it really just goes well together.
Okay.
And we had a really successful session, and we're gonna do it again later this month. So hopefully we'll get more. We're naming that project Kalidi Vastum, I think is how you pronounce it, and it's Latin for hot waste. So
okay,
that was his idea, and I really liked it. So
you know what's funny is I'm surprised to hear you say it's ambient, because one of my questions, knowing that you have a propensity for schlappy engineering gear, and so does Andy, and he also has a propensity towards anything that is noisy. It's kind of exciting, and I mean, is there still some dark and harsh on it too?
Oh, it's definitely dark and harsh. I guess I have a different definition of ambient, like
beatless.
Beatless is usually how I think of ambient. Is
okay,
or at least not. It's both atonal and beatless. You know,
Okay.
it's the focus is more on the sounds you're creating rather than the notes or the rhythms you're creating.
Uh-huh.
I mean, maybe there's another sub-genre term that I don't know that is a better way to describe it. Maybe just noise music.
Yeah, I think noise. I mean, with
Yeah,
Andy's stuff, Fathom the Void. I would
yeah,
definitely say that's kind of noise.
yeah, yeah.
Here, I'm sorry. I'm still learning how to do this live stream call-in thing. I just gotta message somebody, make sure that they know that I got their thing, and tell them they're next in line really quick. But
Okay, cool.
while we're doing that, will you you got a kind of a cool gift from your partner for Christmas or your birthday
Yes, I
recently,
did. Yeah.
and I just loved that. You want to tell that story while I message this person really quick for the listener?
Sure, yeah. So my lovely wife, Luce, who's been my greatest supporter in all this, um, she for my birthday, even though she got it late because it takes forever to do these kind of things,
Mm-hmm.
but she took my first release, Transit Maps Volume One, that I released under Untilled Sound, and you can go to the website on that. And she made a one-off vinyl pressing of that record, and we finally got it in the mail like a month or so ago, and it was really delightful and surreal experience having my music on a physical, like a truly physical format like that. Like I've had music burned to CDs and that sort of thing, and I mean
Right.
that's semi-physical, but it's but like the fact that the audio file actually cut the actual vinyl,
Mm-hmm.
and it's, I mean, that's part of the reason I like vinyl so much is because like physical and visual artists have like this kind of place you can go and observe something. It
Mm-hmm.
kind of enshrines the music in a way, and music doesn't really have that, and I feel like vinyl is the best representation we have of that. it's
Totally.
almost it's
Yeah.
almost ceremonial putting a record on because you
Absolutely.
gotta, yeah, so
It's
that's something
interactive
I
too. And it's
exactly.
an active process because you have to flip it. And yeah, I mean I've talked at length on this but it's having stuff on CD myself and even on a couple cassette tapes. It's cool,
Mhm.
but well, hold on. I got to grab something because it's right behind me, just off camera.
Sure.
But my now ex girlfriend, we're still cool, but she did the same thing for me.
Oh really?
But it's like this one-off kind of. I'm holding it in front of the camera. It'll be up there. It's it's like this, almost like a flexi disc though. So it doesn't
Oh
quite
yeah.
play. But it's my first album called Album, and it's
Album.
a 10-inch clear flexi disc, and it's got a goofy picture on the front, which is not me. It's my cousin Chuck when he was
That's
younger.
funny. Yeah, there's just something really special about that, and we actually can put, like, for us, you can actually put it on the record player and listen to it.
That's
It was
awesome.
really weird but awesome, like listening to my own music coming out of the vinyl.
It's so cool.
Hmm.
Yeah, this thing, I actually, if you actually put it on like, I don't know if you've messed around with flexi disc before, but if you put it on and then try to play it, like, you have to really mess with the weight of the arm, or else it'll just
Oh yeah,
it'll just like plant on the flexi disc, and the
right,
the the plate will turn, but the record doesn't.
right, like, or like, uh, maybe the messing with the anti-skate or whatever will,
Yeah.
no, but that's the other way around though. So I don't know.
It's well, some if it's a nice enough record player, you have like screw weight in the back,
Right. Hmm.
and you just counterweight it like super light.
Right.
But I basically listened to like 30 seconds of a song, and I was like, you know what? This belongs in a frame. So I have still have
Yeah.
yet to hear like a full album of mine on
Yeah,
vinyl.
yeah,
That's kind of a 2020 goal for me. So
yeah.
any
Well, I,
any
I,
labels?
I'd, yeah, I'd love to be able to get to a point where I can like actually sell vinyl, but one step at a time.
Oh yeah, I
Uh,
mean I would like to
but
get there too.
yeah, that's the dream. Let's hope that happens for us.
Yeah, right.
Point.
Hey, everybody listening, put it out into the universe so Cole and I can get to the point where we can make vinyl, and I don't care if it's profitable. If it can pay for 90% of itself, I'll still do it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. As long as you don't have to go like super into the hole for it.
Yeah, because it's expensive, man. And I mean,
It
I'm
really is.
glad that cassettes are an option now, because the physical thing is really important. But
Yeah, I'm thinking about an upcoming release going on cassette, which actually leads me to that. There's another thing I'm releasing in a couple weeks. It's my new project. It's a solo project, but I'm calling it Hectopode,
Okay.
which is the it
5
means,
feet?
No, hectopode. That would be hexapode.
Hex. Oh.
Hectopode is 100 feet.
100. Oh, okay. All right.
Like an octopus with 100 legs.
Okay. Okay. All right.
But so do you remember the set I got to play at Modular Nights in the summer? I think it was July.
Was that the one that was your first?
Yeah,
No.
it was my. Well, I've only done it once so far, so yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that kind of like, so that was like an experimental, like kind of harsh metal-ish, but it had like a structure to it. Anyway, the idea it was just, I've always had this kind of idea of doing like a modular metal project, and I actually got to record like a 3-song demo and having it come out in a couple weeks, and
Oh, sweet.
I'm actually doing vocals in it and everything, and I'm really stoked about this project. So,
awesome.
Yeah, I'm really pumped, and I actually I have to say, listening to Fox Soper Duo at your suggestion from the very first Podular Modcast, listening to that record kind of showed me that I can do the kind of thing I was hoping to be able to do.
That record rips, man. Oh.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And it like the stuff I'm making isn't quite like that, but it showed me that the stuff I want to make is possible
Right.
with modular. So yeah, that was really exciting, and I'm really excited to get this going. And if all goes well, I'm gonna have like a full length, professionally mastered. I'm gonna have Nathan do it again.
Yeah.
Later on in the year, or maybe early next year. So that's the goal. But we'll see how this little 3-song demo goes. But I'm pretty proud of how it's gone, and yeah, I'm really excited.
Well, I look forward to that.
Yeah, thank you. It'll be out January 31st.
And I will definitely plug it when it's closer to release. Well, I mean, I guess that's pretty close, but I'll mention it on an episode too. So don't forget to send me an email and remind me to do that.
Yeah, I'll do that. I can send you that for that, and for Kaledi Vastum as well. So
sweet.
Yeah, a lot of fun stuff coming up, and I'm gonna make like another record full of like a bunch of the stuff I made in the last like first year and a half of modular. And anyway, just I'm finally getting to a point where I'm like creating regularly and starting to get like a steady flow of content, and I'm really excited about that. It's the first time in a very long. It's the first time since music school that I've gotten to do that. So.
Yeah, well, just keep on it and take advantage of it while the muse is slapping you in the face, because it'll disappear sometimes. Dude, thank you so much for calling in. I got to get to the next person, but one really quick, just give everybody links or whatever you want them to go check out.
Yeah, so my main website is untilledsound.com. That's not untitled, but untilled, like untilling tilled soil.
TILL.
TILLED. So Untilled Sound. And that website is also going to have links to Kaledi Vastum and Hectopode. I also have Untilled Sound on Instagram, and Hectopode is also on Instagram. And if you follow either of those on Instagram or check out the website, you should be able to get access to all the new stuff that's coming out. So
sweet. Thanks, Cole.
Right. Thank you.
Right on, man. Have a good night, and I'll see you probably at the next event.
Yeah, totally. And have a good rest of the show.
Thanks, man. Will do.
Bye.
Sweet. Success. We had our first caller. Thank you, Cole. That was awesome. Cole is a cool dude. Next up, we got a call. I'm gonna call my buddy Jeffrey Atkinson. But real quick, before I call Jeffrey, if you want to talk in the next like 25 minutes, go on to Skype and look for Tim Held, and my profile picture is the one with the orange microphone cover. So yeah, please hop on there. Let's call Jeffrey. I wonder what Jeffrey wants to talk about. Jeffrey's a really close friend of mine. Get online, Jeffrey. It's not ringing. That makes me nervous. It's going to tell me he's not online. What's happening? Wait, he's calling. Wait, what? No. He's trying to call me on Skype. I shouldn't have put Skype on my phone. There we go. That's more success. Okay, there we go. There we go. Hello?
Howdy, Tim.
What's happening, man?
Hey, not a lot.
That was weird. I just put Skype on my phone because I was not at home and I wanted to see if anybody was messaging me yet. And I was trying to call you, but you were calling me, so it was ringing on my phone. But yeah, I don't know. That was weird.
Sorry about that.
I don't think it was your fault.
Wild Skype.
I got to make sure. Hold on one second. My stream looks like it's paused. No, I think it's just my phone.
All right.
What's up, buddy?
Not a lot. I am working on some patches for my multi-effects unit.
Well, oh yeah, you have that Boss. What one do you?
The
have
Boss,
again?
yeah. The GT1.
The GT1.
The little one.
What are you after? You trying to do some standard shoegaze?
Yeah, well, some various shoegaze artist trying to figure out what to do with their patches.
So are you listening to like a specific song and trying to mimic that tone?
Yeah,
Okay.
Exactly. So there's
Cool.
a few songs that I've been working on, like When the Sun Hits by Slowdive
Okay.
and Sweetness and Light by Lush. So I'm looking at creating patches to mimic their tone.
You know, I haven't really got into any shoegaze. I've always really enjoyed the album titles and the names of the bands, and I've always liked the whole mythos behind it, but I haven't really got into it. So if I was to, dive in, take a slow dive into it, where should I start?
I mean, I think that most people would probably tell you to start with My Bloody Valentine as the most popular shoegaze band out there. But maybe if you've already listened to them and you haven't got into them, then maybe some other, place would be a better start. So both of those bands I really like, and I know, a lot of people who really like them, both Slowdive and Lush. Lush is more kind of on the dream pop side of shoegaze, maybe. So they've got really great vocals, lots of kind of jangle, and Slowdive is just some really cool riffs and atmospheric washes backing them up.
Okay. All right. So I've tried Slowdive and My Bloody Valentine, but I will say this: it was all stuff where I was listening to it and it didn't grab me right away, which that doesn't mean anything. But it was all stuff that I was listening to that I felt like I need to listen to this a lot to see if I like it, and I just never did that, I guess.
Yeah. If you think, I mean, what do you think you would like get into? Because there's the atmospheric parts. There's kind of, some of those are like heavier, bands that have very like lots of, kind of delay and reverb going on. And then there's the more kind of dream poppy, which is like often higher pitched vocals that are like very beautiful, sort of Cocteau Twins inspired. And there's the more kind of rock riff heavy bands, and then there's the ones that are
probably where I'd be more leaning to now. Is the fuzzy, maybe good guitar work.
Yeah.
Because it seems like the singing aspect of it is kind of the aspect that I'm least interested in as far as that goes. But
Sure.
I don't know if that's actually true. Because like I haven't listened to that much of it, but
Yeah, I mean, I think that both the so there's some of like of the '90s kind of original shoegaze bands. Swerve Driver is one that I like. That's more kind of rock riff focused.
okay.
And then I think Slowdive, like Souvlaki Space Station, that album does have a lot of like that's some of the stuff that I'm practicing on guitar, and there's just a lot of like great guitar parts in that.
Okay. I don't want you to get too hung up on this. If there was a specific thing you wanted to chat about, though, I realized I hijacked the conversation.
No, that's fine. I mean, that's basically what I want to talk with you about, especially because I'm learning, I'm learning all kind of different parts of playing guitar. One of the ones that I know that I can go to you for advice on is using effects. And so because I'm interested in, kind of aping the sounds of some of my heroes, it's cool to talk with you and hear your experience with using circuitry to create sound, to create music. Definitely something I want to talk with you more about.
It was funny. Well, so for the listener, Jeffrey is one of my dearest friends, and we went on a walk the other day around a park in West Seattle, and we ended up in a little brunch spot, and we were there for like an hour and a half, and we were just talking about your possible guitar addiction, as in the actual acquisition of the items that are guitars.
Yes.
But yeah, we were in there for like an hour and a half, and yeah, I knew that you started playing guitar a while ago, but I didn't realize the journey that you were on. So it was nice to hear all that, and I love that you're super into effects. Well,
I'm trying to learn about them. So I've got a new teacher named Ted, who is a local Seattle musician who does kind of atmospheric Americana stuff, and
that sounds interesting.
He's promised to teach me some shoegaze effects, which is really what I'm going for. So yesterday I had a lesson with him, and we were mostly just like kind of doing layered loops of like chords and riffs inspired by some of the songs that I was working on. But yeah, soon hopefully I'll get more into the effects.
Well, speaking of, I don't know if you're watching the live stream, but I just plugged my guitar into that 4-band distortion that I was telling you about while you're talking, and so I don't know if you're going to hear it though. Through the, I don't know, can you hear guitar?
I can hear, the acoustic sound of it.
Okay, so you can't hear the fuzz. Well, I wanted to show you I just realized that I forgot that that was a waste of time. I was going to show you some of the delay and reverb and fuzz that I have actually at my disposal in the Eurorack here, but
yeah, okay. I'll have to see it some other time.
Yeah, you have to come over and jam. Actually, for my birthday, I think I told you I want to just get a bunch of us together and just everybody bring their instruments, and we'll just have a jam night. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Shit. Now I'd gone and done it. So, I don't know. Is there any advice or any questions that you'd have for me or the listeners about your journey? And like I love the approach that you've taken, because you're not just like, I want to play guitar, and I love that you have purposely stayed away from effects, because you're like, I gotta figure out how to play it first, and you're showing some restraint in that regard, so that's I admire that. So
for anyone who may be listening, I I definitely want. I'm not trying to stay away from effects. That's not my hope, because it is a lot of fun to play with them, right? I want to have a tone and a sound when I'm practicing that really inspires me to keep practicing. But what I am staying away from is acquiring the effects, because I already have a problem with acquiring guitars. And so I've got this Boss GT1 little multi-effects unit that can, model amps and speaker cabinets and, various effects like overdrives and distortions, chorus, delay, reverb, etc. So it maybe doesn't do some of the crazy stuff that like discrete guitar pedals or modules or other effects would do, but I want to get kind of the basics of using those basic categories down.
I think your approach, I mean, you're a pretty bright guy, and I think you thought a lot about how to approach this, and I think you're doing it the right way and not the way I did it as a 12-year-old in Roslyn, Washington. But I love, and so like you said, this may not be the most powerful in like the it's not the best delay and it's not the best reverb, but because like you were talking the other day, you're trying to actually learn how to, you want to get good at the craft of playing guitar. You're still learning about the effects that you can dive into when you are ready to take that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And something like you have is perfect. I think maybe I want to show you that Zoya. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Empress Effects Zoya.
No.
But I think you'd get a kick out of that. It's a really awesome. It's everything. It's a multi effects pedal, but it's a synth. But it's in like a guitar box. It's pretty crazy. I won't go into great detail about it right now, but when we hang out, I want to show it to you because I think
awesome.
If it gels with you, like just kind of the format and the layout of it, I think it'd be maybe something you'd be interested in picking up. And I know you're not like ready to buy the effects yet, but this could be, something. It's ZOIA.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, what else are we going to talk about? I don't have anybody else queued up yet. So if you want to chat, if you want to get in on this live chat, go on Skype and look for me, Tim Held, and my profile picture is just me with a microphone with an orange pop screen on it. But while we're waiting, Jeffrey,
yeah,
why don't you tell everybody how we met?
Oh yeah, that's a good story. So I initially was introduced to the concept of Tim Held, if not the person Tim Held, by my local record store clerk, who said, "Hey Jeffrey," one day when I came in, he said, "Hey Jeffrey, I think you should check this guy's music out. It seems pretty cool." So I listened to a little bit of what Tim was teasing online of his then upcoming album, Typical Haunts. And I was like, this is pretty cool. And it turns out that Tim was running like an Indiegogo campaign, I think, to release the album. And one of the tiers of donation reward was to have a show played at your house, a house show kind of featuring the album. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool. And Tim had set this reward tier at just an absurdly low price. It was kind of,
wasn't it like $50 or something like
it was $50. Yeah, it was like, oh my god, this guy doesn't know how to value his time. But the music's pretty good, so I pledged for that campaign for the Typical Haunts album. And I think I donated like a little bit more than the $50 minimum. But I was like, okay, well, pretty sweet deal. I can invite my friends over and have some live music. And at the time, I was living in a really nice house on Capitol Hill in Seattle, and had a pretty big like living room, dining room, area to be able to host in.
Mhm.
So I was excited about that. And Tim and I started talking, you and I started talking over Messenger, and you asked a question that ended up being fateful, which was, do you have any kind of movie or TV show that you're into? Maybe I can use some of the music or, sound effects or dialogue from that mix it into my set. And I was like, oh, that's a cool idea. So I started thinking about what do I like? I was like, I like Game of Thrones, but I don't know if like music or sound effects from Game of Thrones really works with this style of electronic music. And then I was like, wait a second, I love Adventure Time, which is a whimsical cartoon loved by children and adult stoners. And it's got some really great, cute music and lots of good sound design in it. And I was like, well, this is a little awkward to, tell Tim I like this children's cartoon.
Yeah,
but
we've never met in person.
yeah, never met this person. We've just been communicating over the internet. And so I said, well, I really like this show called Adventure Time, and maybe you could check it out and see if there's anything you could use. And Tim responded back like immediately, like, I love Adventure Time. This is awesome.
I don't. I'm glorifying this memory, but I swear that I was hoping you were going to say Adventure Time.
Oh wow. Yeah. Okay.
Because I was in the middle. I was messing around with some Evangelion Neon Genesis samples, and I think I had already took some sound bites from Adventure Time and was messing around with it at that point. I think, but. Let's just go with it because I'm pretty sure that I was hoping you were going to say that.
Well, then, it was fate, clearly. And so I was like, okay, this is exciting. Tim likes Adventure Time. I like Adventure Time. It's got some cute music. This should work out well. So I was like, okay, I'll invite my friends over for an Adventure Time themed dance party and Tim will play. And I have a lot of friends who like Adventure Time, so I was like, okay, come for this dance party, come in costume, make up an Adventure Time character costume. And I told Tim, I was like, hope you like this idea, but I'm gonna have people dress in costume. And Tim was happy. You were happy about that, right?
Oh yeah.
And you actually asked if it was okay if you invited a couple of friends because they were into the idea. And I was like, of course, that's great. And they, this is getting a little bit ahead, but they ended up coming in incredible, I think, Princess Bubblegum and Marceline the Vampire Queen costumes. And that was rad.
Yeah, it was so fun.
But yeah, the night of the party, Tim and I again had never met in person, but we'd been talking about this, and I think we're excited. I was excited about it, definitely. And the party was to start at 8 p.m. and Tim shows up at my house at 5 p.m. I'm like, okay,
it's classic.
This guy's really, really punctual.
Did we not agree? Did I didn't just show up though. I told you I'd be there, right?
I think
we were going to get dinner or something first. That sounds pretty early. I probably wanted to make sure I could get everything set up and sounding okay.
I think you were worried about it. I think you messaged me to say, hey, is it okay? You're like, I want to make sure I get everything, together. Is it okay if I come at 5? I'm like, oh,
5
okay,
is so early.
Sure.
That's fucking
it's
crazy.
Very early. Yeah. So you show up at my house. I'm like, okay, this guy's really punctual. All right. It's 5 p.m. And got set up and everything was fine except
right.
you were missing a USB A to B cable.
That is why I showed up at 5 because of shit like that.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So I didn't have one, but I was pretty sure I knew a friend who did. So you and I walked down Capitol Hill to my friend Steven's apartment and borrowed his USB B cable. And on the way back, I was like, well, I better get some extra beer for the party. And then Tim was like, well, I can get some beer too. I was like, what? But, you pitched in. Mm-hmm. We got some beer. We went back home. We had a couple of beers and chatted for, the next 2.5 hours or whatever until people showed up. It was a good time. And then the party was really awesome. Tim, your set was great. I think you did kind of 45 minutes of mostly the typical haunt stuff, and that sounded awesome. And then the rest of it was like a DJ set. You had asked me some of my favorite songs or bands, and you made a DJ set that had a bunch of like Adventure Time kind of stuff leading into like a variety of a mix of songs that I was into and that you liked as well, and that was really fun. And I think my friends and your friend Justin and others had a great time, and people had really sweet costumes. One friend, Lizzie, was also Marceline the Vampire Queen, but had this like cardboard axe guitar, the axe bass that was like painted cardboard with like aluminum foil on it. I was impressed by how all out people went. My costume was not that complicated. I was dressed in like a white hoodie and white pants as the snow golem, and had like a ring of like a wreath around my face that the snow golem wears, and a little like sack.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, one of the things that really sticks out in my memory is the walk to the thing, and we got some Hawaiian food on the way, and it was at Marination, and and I remember there being some pretty great costumes. And then I think I slept on your couch because I drank too many beers to drive home.
So exactly, it was so by the time the dancing was over, everyone was having a great time. My friends were like, we want to still party, so I wanted to be respectful to my housemates. We went out to Charlie's, which was the hangout of the friend group on Charlie's on Broadway, and we played pool.
That's right.
And then by the time we got back, one of my housemates wanted to watch The Fifth Element, and I was like, wow, okay, this is kind of late. It's like 2 a.m. or something. But sure. So we started watching The Fifth Element, but then she fell asleep like instantly, and Tim was looking pretty sleepy, and I was like, man, you can't drive back. Let's have you crash on the couch. So I turned off like The Fifth Element and shepherded my housemate upstairs, and Tim slept on the couch. And that was the first time we'd met. It was a great night. And we've been friends since.
Yeah, and that was 6 years ago.
Close to it. I think
5.
It was. Yeah,
a little over 5.
No, I think it was.
Okay, yeah, because Hannah and I are coming up on 5. So
yeah. So it was 2015.
Wow.
January or February 2015. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Good stuff.
Really good.
Thanks for prompting me to tell that story.
When I saw you wanted to call in, I was like, oh, I wonder if I'm glad that you had fun telling it, because I was like, I hope he's not tired of telling the story, because I feel like I've had you tell that story before. It's a unique way to make a friend.
Yes.
And especially one that becomes like a really close friend. Because I'm sure going into it for me, I was just like, I don't know who the hell this guy is, So the whole time leading up to it, it's like I hope he's cool. I hope we get along. I wasn't expecting to get a dear friend out of it. And then you no longer live in that house, and I hope you move out of it.
But it is still a great house, and I still know folks who live there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, shit, man. What else we got? I'm still waiting for you guys. Somebody call in, or don't call in. You can't call in, but find me on Skype if you want to chat.
Send Tim a message. That's what I did.
Yeah, thank you.
Look where I am now, on the interwebs.
Oh man, that's awesome. I think I've had somebody message me and say like, "Oh, I sent you a message. I hope that was you," and it wasn't. So if you're watching, I guess I've never met another Held aside from my family, but apparently there's more Tim Helds. Kevin, call, send me a message on Instagram. We'll chat. Well, Jeffrey, I appreciate you calling in. Is there anything else that is burning in your desire to shout from the modular mountaintops?
So, yeah, absolutely. So, I don't know. I have to admit, I have not listened to every episode of Pod Mod.
I didn't even think you listened to listen to on episode. So that's
Oh, I
that's fine.
definitely do from time to time. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I'll check out who's being interviewed, see if they seem interesting,
Mm-hmm.
and then give it a listen. And I've recommended like at least 3 people who have some interest in synthesis listen to the podcast. So
Thank
I'm
you.
doing my part.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. But one thing I'm wondering is, I don't know if you've covered this in other episodes, but have you had some kind of like retrospective episode going back over, the things that you and others have learned on this great journey of the Podular Modcast?
I haven't. That's actually
Okay.
that's pretty. I think that's a pretty good idea. I'm wondering what I would. I mean, would I just maybe reflect on it? I guess that is something I've thought of a few times, kind of recently. Is like, well, what have I learned? And I think I'd have to meditate on that for a while. I mean, I certainly know a hell of a lot more about the actual instrument. It still seems like a pretty deep mystery to me. The one thing, this isn't maybe this isn't interesting, but just about everybody there's like 3 different like types of how I got into modular stories. What I've noticed, like I can like, and sometimes I'm wrong, which I love, but like sometimes when people start like saying, like setting it up, I can almost like be like, I think I know where this is going, which it's it's probably 50-50. But that said, something that's kind of surprised me is I still find everybody's individual story fascinating because it's just the little idiosyncratic things about their story. But it's always like, I played guitar, I got into pedals, I got into modular, or I was a pianist or classically trained, musician. And then, I went to art school and I found it that way, or I was into making music on computers. It's like, it's just like, those are the 3 big ones. That's not that interesting.
No, that's interesting to me. I think isn't it true? Like Caitlin Aurelia Smith is one of those sort of was classically trained, went to art school, and then discovered
Yeah,
a Buchla.
She has
setup.
From what I understand, and I really want to get her on the show. She's one of my dream guests because she's one of my favorites. From what I understand, she grew up on Orcas Island, where we went for my birthday trip. That was a great trip, by the way. She grew up there, and I think you're right. She was like a classically trained, pianist or violinist or something. And somebody on the island that she knew had like a giant Buchla in his shed.
Okay.
And he was just like, "Hey, you should come mess around with this,"
Yeah.
something crazy like that. I would love to hear like
that's definitely
the
an
long
Orcas
version.
Island story, right?
What's that?
Definitely an Orcas Island story.
No
like
shit, right? Yeah.
only on Orcas will you have like one neighbor who has like a lavender farm, another neighbor keeps sheep, and like the third one has a massive Buchla setup.
Well, dude, remember that we went to that church flea market thing?
Yes, there was a flea market, and you were buying up pedals.
Yeah, well, they had a Boss that's like the CH2, and I think they had the Overdrive 1, which are like old, but like the good versions, and that chorus is like the sought after version of that chorus, and I think I picked them both up for like $20 total or $30 total. And then
I think you might be overselling the deal. I think maybe you paid like $20 a piece or something.
Maybe it's $20 a piece. Yeah. Either way, I made over like 100% profit on them when I brought them home and sold them.
Okay.
Because I was like, I don't want a chorus or an overdrive, but these are old, and I know the old Boss pedals are popular, so I just I kind of wish I would have kept the chorus. I don't know. It kind of sullies the story to say I brought them home and sold them.
Well, gearheads, go to Orcas Island, find a flea market. You'll never know what you'll get.
Right? Oh, man. Well, what time is it? This has been fun. I'm really glad that you called in. Still waiting for somebody else to find me on Skype, Tim Held. And I don't want to keep you. You can go whenever you want, Jeffrey, but I'm happy to keep you on.
No. I'm happy to fill time if that's helpful. One other question. I mean, so I think the kind of what you learn about people through this is an interesting question for me.
Mm-hmm.
Another question would be along those lines is like, you know, what do you think, where do you think the sort of modular community is going in terms of like what people want to do with this class of instrument, with this, I think like a lot of what's been done maybe to date is kind of more in the like experimental electronic music realm.
Mm-hmm.
But I also see my housemate is really into watching YouTube, and sometimes I see like she'll be watching like more mainstream electronic music producers talking about what they do, and they'll have like some modular setup in the background.
Yeah.
So,
mm-hmm.
Like those folks aren't making the kinds of music that like, you know, you and your label mates on Self Center Records make.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious about kind of where the whole scene is going, and what people are interested in.
That's
as far as you can tell.
I think. Well, I ask a lot of people that question who come on the show. You know, a lot of builders and people who've been in it a long time, and I think it's an interesting question that I'm going to try and give you my answer, and I'm going to try not to sound like I'm not going to not jaded or anything, but okay. So it's definitely growing in popularity, and more people are using it. You know, like someone like Daedalus. He went from, you know, using the Monome and more of like, you know, a computer based thing. And now he does his whole thing on modular, but he does stuff like no one else. It's crazy. And yeah, it's inching its way into more, popular or, you know, well-known, well-established artists. And you see it in the background of like, you know, hip TV shows now. So it's infiltrating the mainstream in like a very, very weird way. It's so gear driven for one. And two, I think I was just talking to this guy, Tom Whitwell, and he was mentioning a friend, you know, a conversation he had with a friend who does like film scoring and stuff. And he says, yeah, the modular stuff is all fine and good. But, you know, if I get called from the producer and they say, hey, I need 2 extra minutes of this thing that you sent me, like, you're not going to go out and repatch it up. So that is to say that this is not at all even close to an efficient way to make music, you know, quickly, or I don't know. I think it's always going to be a little bit fringe because the closer to, you know, like accessible music you get as far as like hook line and like dancey stuff or stuff that, you know, more people will be enjoyed or more people will enjoy. I think the closer to digital and like computer types of modules that you'll need, which definitely exist, but once there would be a place where you'd cross a threshold and it would just become an iPad or a laptop in your rack. And at that point,
sure, yeah,
what's the point of that? So I think it's always going to be a little bit on the esoteric. But what I think is going to happen, and I think it's already happening, and it's actually the reason I got into it was I wanted one of these instruments to actually just build my own samples and then manipulate them. Like the way I played that show at your house, I just used like an APC and an Ableton. So my idea was, I'll make the sounds on this, because I used to just make the sounds with pedals and synths and then cut them up. So that's I think where this thing is the most powerful. It is great for making sounds that just are just unlike anything else, and you can be so deliberate with your actions, just to like the smallest this just like the most minute level, that's gonna be the thing that keeps it always in use. But I don't think it's ever gonna be the prime thing. Like, maybe you'll have a like it's if you're touring, it's just not. It's not like an efficient way to play live music, because
the repeatability is tough, as you say.
Because if you patch it all up and just leave it patched as one instrument, well, then it just becomes like a synthesizer that you can see, with exposed circuitry. I don't know, but there's a million ways to answer that question, and I'm only a couple of years in, so I'm sure a lot of people would have a lot to say in the opposition of what I just said. But that's kind of the general. I don't know if that made much sense. I feel like I just rambled a whole lot, but
I think I got the sense.
Yeah.
I think I'm not that familiar with it, but what you say makes sense to a layperson like me.
Yeah.
That it's probably not going to create a pop hit on its own without the modules being very much more kind of sample or sequence driven, and
you can do all that, and
more computerized.
So with my whole setup, I've got this fucking enormous case here, and with what I have, I could build a pretty cool set that had like a number of different pieces in it and whatnot. But if I didn't have anything digital in here, like I could make a couple tracks, and then this this instrument that costs as much as a used car from 10 years ago. That's not very efficient when you can buy you know what I mean? Like, it's I don't know. I think it's also it's a musician's instrument. The music that we make, a lot of us make on it. If you know the gear that it was made on, it kind of makes you appreciate it more, which is kind of a double-edged sword. So it's like it's kind of like a club, I know what that is. But if I show it to Hannah, she'll be like, cool. I could be like, this is the most amazing shit ever. But without the context, it maybe isn't. So
fair enough.
Yeah, you just got me on a big old rant.
Well, I appreciate it, Tim.
Yeah.
And let's talk shoegaze and effects some other time soon.
Let's do it. Yeah, when you get back from your trip, let's try to keep this. We only went on one walk, but let's make it a thing.
That sounds good.
All right, buddy. Thanks for calling in.
Okay.
All right,
talk with you later, Tim. Bye.
Me and Jeffrey talked for like 30 minutes. I would in the future, what I'd like to do is maybe, if we do this for an hour, maybe have 6 different people. We talk for 10 minutes, talk to 6 different people. I think that would be cool. I would love to field questions. I appreciate that Jeffrey was asking me some questions. But if you want to come in and just promote something, that's fine. Or if you want to we don't even have to talk about synths. We do whatever the fuck we want. We're our own bosses. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and joining, and thank you so much for calling, and we'll see you next time.